Hello and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to Westferry Times for the deep dive.
Hello.
You know how we do it here. You bring the curiosity, we tackle the sources,
That's right.
and today we're really diving headfirst into something, well, quite interesting brewing in UK politics.
Hmm.
It's all about the reports that Elon Musk might be considering funding the Reform UK party.
Yes, it certainly captured some headlines. We've been looking through reports from, the FT, The Guardian, Wall Street Journal, BBC. Quite a few are covering this.
So our mission today is really to unpack this. What could it actually mean for politics over there?
Exactly. It's got a lot of different angles, and we want to sort of pull out the key things for you.
Okay, so maybe first, for anyone who isn't fully up to speed, let's just lay the groundwork. What is Reform UK? Where do they fit in?
Right. So Reform UK basically grew out of the Brexit Party. Nigel Farage is the current face of the party. And policy-wise, they're generally seen as being on the right. Big focus on things like tighter immigration control, major economic changes, and really pushing back against what they call the political establishment.
So challenging the status quo.
Very much so. And look, they haven't got loads of MPs yet, but they are making some noise, gaining traction in some local elections, connecting with certain groups of voters.
Right, aiming to shake things up. Now, the connection, Elon Musk, tech mogul, space guy. How does someone like him reportedly get interested in funding this specific UK party?
Well, the reports suggest it stems from meetings he's had with Nigel Farage. Apparently they met at Mar-a-Lago, among other places.
Interesting.
And it seems the common ground is Musk's strong stance on free speech. He talks about that a lot. Maybe a shared sort of anti-establishment vibe, challenging the usual way politics works. That seems to be the link.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's get to the nitty-gritty then, the figures being thrown around. Up to 100 million, that sounds enormous.
It's a huge sum, yeah.
But hang on, I thought there were pretty strict rules in the UK about political donations, especially from people who aren't UK citizens. How would that even work?
You're absolutely right to raise that. Current UK law does ban foreign nationals from donating directly to political parties. That's clear.
Right.
However, the potential workaround being discussed, the loophole, if you like, involves using entities that are registered in the UK.
Okay.
Specifically, there's talk about funds potentially being channeled through the British arm of X, formerly Twitter, which Musk owns.
I see. So because X has a UK-registered company...
That could potentially be the route. And obviously that's where the concerns about, well, foreign influence, even if indirect, really start to surface.
Okay, so not a direct personal donation, but maybe through his UK company.
Yeah.
What's the reaction been like in politics with the public? Has it caused a stir?
Oh, definitely a mixed bag. You've got politicians and commentators raising serious concerns, talking about, the integrity of democracy, the risk of undue foreign influence. That's one side.
I understand.
But then you've also got the argument that, well, if it's done through legal channels, using a UK company, then it's legitimate support, whatever the ultimate source's nationality. It's technically legal, they might argue.
A legal versus ethical debate, maybe?
Kind of. And interestingly, Sky News reported the government might actually be looking at tightening the donation laws because of situations like this, to close off these kinds of potential pathways.
Right, makes sense they'd review it. Okay, let's think practically. If, hypothetically, Reform UK did get a massive cash injection, like 100 million, what could they actually do with it? How much difference would it make?
Look, for a party like Reform UK, that kind of money could be a total game changer. Seriously.
How so?
Well, think about their campaign capabilities. Suddenly, they'd have the resources for much bigger, much more frequent advertising. They could invest heavily in grassroots organizing, getting people on the ground, outreach.
More leaflets, more online ads, supporting candidates.
Exactly. Supporting their candidates properly across the country. It would massively amplify their message, let them reach way more people than they can right now.
And beyond just boosting reform, could that amount of money fundamentally disrupt the sort of traditional conservative labor dynamic that's dominated UK politics for so long?
That's a really key question. And yes, it potentially could. Giving that kind of financial firepower to a smaller challenger party, it could start to level the playing field, resource-wise at least. It might empower Reform UK to become a much more serious contender, pulling votes away from the big two, maybe fragmenting the vote more. It definitely has the potential to disrupt that traditional balance, like David getting some serious Goliath-level funding.
That's a good way to put it. But it does make you think, If this happens, if Musk finds a way, could it set a precedent? Could other foreign billionaires or, entities decide they want a slice of the action in UK politics too?
That's the worry for many people, yes. It absolutely could be seen as setting a precedent. If this route is shown to be viable legally, it might encourage others with deep pockets and specific agendas overseas to think, okay, how can we use UK-registered entities to exert influence?
So it highlights a potential vulnerability.
Exactly. It shines a spotlight on possible weaknesses in the current rules around political finance. The Guardian's reporting has touched on this quite a bit.
Okay, so this brings us to the ethics beyond just the strict legality. We're talking about what the sovereignty and integrity of democratic processes.
Precisely. Even if a legal route is found, there are bigger ethical questions about whether foreign funding on this scale is appropriate for a national political system. How does it affect public trust? Do people start to think their policies are being shaped by foreign interests rather than domestic ones?
That's a fair point. Transparency becomes key then, doesn't it?
Absolutely vital, knowing who is funding whom and accountability. So if these are the concerns, what can actually be done? What steps could the UK take to kind of safeguard its system?
Right. What are the options?
Well, as we mentioned, potentially tightening those donation laws to close loopholes is one obvious step the government is reportedly considering.
Okay.
Then there's increasing transparency across the board for all political funding, making it crystal clear where the money comes from.
Makes sense.
You also need robust, independent oversight. Bodies like the Electoral Commission need the power and resources to monitor compliance and investigate properly.
Yeah.
And, let's not underestimate the role of public awareness and media scrutiny. Keeping these issues in the spotlight, fostering debate, that's crucial for accountability too.
Okay, so a multi-pronged approach, really. Legislation, transparency, oversight, and public engagement.
Exactly. There's no single silver bullet.
So bringing this all together then, for you listening at home, what's the main takeaway from this whole potential Elon Musk reform UK situation? What should we really be thinking about?
I think the biggest takeaway is how complex political influence has become in this, super connected digital world we live in. The old rules and boundaries are being tested constantly.
Mm.
And this specific case really highlights that. It underlines why we need constant vigilance, why we need informed public debate, and why policymakers need to be proactive in adapting regulations to protect democratic institutions from, new kinds of pressures.
It's definitely not straightforward, is it? Lots of different perspectives, lots of complexities. Thanks for walking us through all of that.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating and important topic.
Absolutely. And that does bring us towards the end of this deep dive. It definitely leaves us with some food for thought, doesn't it?
For sure.
That final question to maybe chew on. In a world that's more interconnected than ever, where exactly do we draw that line between legitimate international interest in other countries' politics and what crosses over into undue foreign influence?
It's a tough balance to strike.
It really is something to ponder. Thanks again for joining us on the deep dive from Westferry Times. We'll catch you next time.
Goodbye.